Back here with Chris Canty. Let's get to the latest now from Tyreel Hill. The Chiefs receiver will rejoin the team. This after the NFL determined he will not be disciplined or suspended following an investigation into allegations of child abuse. The NFL saying he did not violate the league's personal conduct policy. His teammate, Travis Kelce, said, "We're just happy to get our guy back." Kenny, whether or not you agree with the NFL's decision, Tyreel Hill is indeed back. Does this now put the Chiefs on track for a Super Bowl run?
Well, I think you have to say it does, because this was a team that was in the AFC Championship game last year, and they lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. So, yeah, they're right there in the mix. They still have that same core of skill position players, and they have the reigning MVP in Pat Mahomes. So they're right there. But as far as the NFL's decision goes not to suspend Tyreel Hill, I think they were clear on their position that they didn't have enough evidence in their investigation to definitively make a decision on whether or not this case warranted discipline toward Tyreel Hill. And the one thing that we've got to stop doing, fans, media, we've got to stop looking to the NFL to administer justice in these types of situations. You have to leave that to law enforcement, and in this case, the Johnson County District Attorney. If they didn't have enough evidence to file charges on the child abuse side of things, then the NFL clearly wouldn't be in a position to do that, because the NFL is not as qualified as those individuals. Now, as far as the complete picture, there was something there for the NFL to discipline Tyreel Hill on, and that was the audio and listening to him talk to the mother of the child and the language that he used and the threatening manner in which he spoke to her. I mean, psychological and emotional abuse are real things, and this is not this couple's first issue with domestic violence or the threat of violence. So I think that the NFL should have looked at this situation and said, you know what, with the child abuse situation, we don't have enough evidence for that. But we do have enough evidence for what Tyreel Hill said to his baby mother.
Well, listen, I agree with most of what you said there, and I'll get to the football part in a second. But where I disagree with you is where you say we have to stop looking to the NFL to adjudicate these things. We aren't looking for the NFL to do this as much as the NFL has raised its hand and said, we want to do this. Like, this was something when Commissioner Goodell came to power, he thought it was important. They have a much more stringent personal conduct policy than under Paul Tagliabue. A few years into his tenure, I think in 2012, he was on the cover of Time magazine as the enforcer, and this is something that he signed up for. And then after the Ray Rice debacle, they then decided we are going to have, within the personal conduct policy, folded in a domestic violence policy. And what the league is discovering is that, unfortunately, domestic violence is incredibly difficult to adjudicate. Our criminal justice system has enormous problems determining, I don't want to say right and wrong, but determining whether or not something occurred, having parties on the same page. It is not a black and white issue, even if it should be. What is so disappointing about this one specifically is if you just remove the allegations about the child, because we don't know. Everyone can have their own speculation. We don't know how that child broke his arm. We do know exactly what your point was. Tyreel Hill threatened Crystal Espinal on recorded conversation. He does not dispute that. His lawyer does not dispute that. And the NFL has in black and white writing that you can be suspended without physical violence.
Because that in and of itself violates the personal conduct
Jimmy
policy.
Smith was just suspended 4 games for what they called a pattern of emotional and verbal abuse. Like, so there is a precedent there. This is where it is, that is the most disappointing part to me, is that was, there aren't many ones that are, I don't want to say easy, but this simple. It's on recorded conversation. He does not dispute that that was him. She does not dispute that that was him. And you have the added part of, this is a couple that 5 years ago, he pled guilty in court to abusing her, to strangling her and punching her. Now, he might deny that now, but he pled guilty to it. And so I was really surprised he didn't get a couple of games. Not that that's the bigger issue here, but for that and that alone, even if you don't determine guilt on who broke his son's arm.
Well, just to push back, I think your premise is a little bit off because in the wake of the Ray Rice incident back in 2014, I think that Roger Goodell was forced in that position after he bungled that particular situation. You had a lot of groups, special interests coming out and saying that Roger Goodell should no longer be allowed to be commissioner of the National Football League and that this league needs to elevate their standard in terms of how they treat women. They had to change their perception. I think that's why he rolled out that personal conduct policy. But Roger Goodell didn't want to stand up and say, this is the issue that I'm going to be known for as a commissioner. That wasn't it. He did want to be the law and order commissioner, but this is just something that he didn't anticipate happening and becoming such a hot button topic. So I don't think that Roger Goodell in the NFL stood up and said, we want to be at the forefront of this. They might have publicly said that, but I think that they were backed into a corner into that position because of how poorly they handled Ray Rice.
Yeah, I'm with Jenna as far as something should have been done, as far as the words that were said based on the history. When you come into the league with that type of mark on you, that type of incident should have warranted some type of suspension for him, what he did to his fiance or his future wife. Now, from a football standpoint, they are special. Patty Mahomes and Tyreek Hill are special in a number of different ways, but the way they throw the ball deep down the field, I'm talking about the ball traveling more than 20 yards. This is an old part of the NFL that Andy Reid has brought back because he's got a great quarterback who's got a great live arm in Tyreek Hill because of his speed and because he's been able to learn a number of routes outside the numbers in the slot that typically speed guys, they don't run that type of route tree. Their ability to be able to make completions deep down the field, 41 times last year they threw the ball over 20 yards, 18 of those being completions. Also, 6 of those I think went for touchdowns, but 5 of those are intercepted. Is Patty Mahomes in this year going to force the ball? Because when you have success in this league, it tends to generate a lot of confidence. And Brett Favre said it. One of the things that I would say Brett Favre is different than Patty Mahomes and different than Baker. Brett Favre throws some interceptions. He's going to throw that ball in the traffic. And the difference between Patty Mahomes and some of these other quarterbacks is keeping those interceptions down. And then this year, with all those expectations on that offense, can he do that? That's going to be a huge question this year.
All right, well, in not suspending Tyreek Hill, we now talk about this as a football issue moving forward to see what the team is going to do with Tyreek Hill and how he helps the rest of the team. Chris?
The one thing I will say about not suspending Tyreek Hill, we've seen Roger Goodell suspend players with less evidence. I just find the timing of this to be a little bit curious. Ezekiel Elliott, we saw that last year, but then not suspending Ezekiel Elliott based on what he did this offseason and not suspending Tyreek Hill. Just saying, maybe Roger Goodell is concerned about the perception amongst players about how he handles the power that was given to him by the owner.
And I don't think anyone would have been upset or surprised had he been suspended for a few games. All right, Canty, thanks for joining us. We got to take a break. Coming up, how far is James Harden willing to go to fit in with Russell Westbrook? Hear it from him next on First Things First.